Have you ever seen someone fake a serious illness? I got stuck with Ms. Anderson in 8th grade and couldn't do anything about it. I heard rumors about how strict she was, but didn't believe them until a girl tried eating a protein bar in class. The crinkling sound of the wrapper echoed in the quiet room as we copied notes about cell structure. She took one bite before Mrs. Anderson's voice cut through the air like a blade. What do you think you're doing? The girl froze mid-chew, confused, explaining that the school allowed us to eat in class. However, Ms. Anderson did not care at all. She snatched the half-eaten bar from her hand and actually threw it in the trash. I don't care what the administration says. This is my classroom, and there will be no eating here. The human body doesn't need constant feeding like you're all cows or something. The next morning, Mrs. Anderson stood at the front of class with a new sign taped to the board. Absolutely no food, no exceptions, no excuses. When David's mom came in that afternoon to explain his hypoglycemia and show his doctor's note, Mrs. Anderson smiled sweetly, nodded along. Then the second his mom left, announced to the class, medical conditions are often exaggerated by overprotective parents. You can all survive 45 minutes without snacking. She positioned her desk so she could watch every student, turning our science class into a surveillance state where even reaching into a backpack triggered her alarm. The next day, Will, the quiet overweight kid who sat 2 rows ahead, tried to eat a sandwich his mom packed. She grabbed it and announced loudly, "Will, you especially don't need extra food. This might actually help you lose some weight." The class gasped as she tossed it away. Will had been getting progressively paler and shakier, and his friend Josh whispered to me that Will had type 1 diabetes, meaning he had to keep his blood sugar stable. Each day, Will looked worse, sometimes gripping his desk with white knuckles, sweat beading on his forehead, but Mrs. Anderson dismissed any concern, saying he needed to learn what eating less was like. She even started limiting bathroom passes, suspicious that students were sneaking food in the hallways. That Thursday morning, Will was visibly struggling. Trembling hands, glazed eyes, sweat soaking through his shirt. He looked like he was about to pass out from exhaustion. 20 minutes into class, he carefully reached into his backpack, pulling out a small bag of Skittles just to get his blood sugar up. The entire class held its breath, silently rooting for him as he tried to quietly unwrap them under his desk. Then the wrapper crinkled. The quietest sound ever, literally could have been anything. Mrs. Anderson's head snapped up. She stormed over, ripped the bag from his hands, and screamed, "I am sick of this defiance." Will pleaded, "Please, I feel sick. I just need a few." Another girl spoke up, explaining his medical condition, but Mrs. Anderson shut her down. "He's manipulating you. You don't need candy every day." Will was deteriorating rapidly, his head dropping, words slurring. That's when I couldn't watch anymore. I knew what diabetes looked like, knowing things would get a lot worse really quickly. I had a chocolate bar in my backpack, but knew she'd kick me out of class if she saw me with it. I knew it was now or never, and wasn't letting Will get seriously hurt just because of Ms. Anderson's stupid rule. I took it out and handed it to him, as he barely had the energy to take it from me. Will managed one small bite of the Snickers, but his movements were becoming unnaturally slow, like his body was shutting down. Mrs. Anderson saw it all, walking back over to us, screaming about detention and calling my parents. But before she made it to the back of the class, Will's eyes rolled back and he slid out of his chair. He hit the floor hard, his head making a sickening crack against the desk leg. Mrs. Anderson froze. The entire class was in shock. All color was draining from her face as she finally understood what she'd done. She ran out of the room to get help, as another girl was already calling 911 while screaming at Mrs. Anderson, "You could have killed him. He told you he was diabetic." We all had to leave the room as he laid there barely still breathing. The paramedics came to school, along with police officers. They were berating her with questions, as we heard them trying to get poor Will's heart beating again. She didn't know what to say. It was a school rule that we were allowed to eat in class, and a federal law if you had a special condition like Will. The paramedics were struggling, all panicking like he wasn't waking up. Then we saw them rush him to the ambulance, and we all saw him. His skin was gray, his body not moving at all. Mrs. Anderson was arrested that afternoon for criminal endangerment and violation of ADA regulations. She lost her teaching license permanently, and the lawsuit resulted in district-wide mandatory medical awareness training. Will survived, but was in the hospital for days. He transferred schools after that.